Good morning, everyone. Welcome. A great day today. Lots of thank yous to go around. I'm going to start with, and you'll hear from some of these folks, but first of all, to Commissioner Marquardt and his team at Revenue for doing some incredible work, getting themselves ready to put money in the bank accounts last evening of tens of thousands of Minnesotans, and over the next several weeks, 2.1 million families. Special thank you to the chairs of our tax committee, Senator Rest and Chair Gomez. Incredible work of putting together one of the most expansive, largest tax cut proposals in Minnesota history, and I would say and much more targeted to improve the lives of Minnesotans across this state. Today, as we said last night, checks up to $1,300 began arriving in Minnesotans' bank accounts. You'll hear from Commissioner Marquardt about specifics on that. Payments were, and it was our goal to get them out at a time when we've got back to school going on. We've got students you're going to hear from. We have parents you're going to hear from about how they can use this money to make life a little bit simpler for them. I would also say it was part of a cohesive tax policy and a cohesive, holistic approach to the legislature to make life more affordable for middle-class Minnesotans. On top of this, up to $1,300 per family, you'd also have a family of four saving about $1,300 on school meals that will go into that. If they qualify, and many will, also for the child tax credit, they'll start to see reductions there that will put Minnesota very shortly at the state with the lowest child poverty rates. All of those things will equate into quality of life, students that are again more stable in their housing, more stable in their food supplies, and able to focus on what they need to at school to be able to learn. So I'm really excited about this proposal. We're really excited that the speed in which the Revenue Department was able to get them out. Minnesotans, and you'll hear from Commissioner Marquardt, wondering some of the questions they'll ask. What happens if I don't have a bank account? What happens if I moved since 2021? How do we go about making sure that those get there? And he'll talk to you about the safety measures that are put into place to make sure this money goes to who it was intended to go to and no one else. Those are the things that we've been focusing on after the legislature in May sent over an incredible tax package, making life, again, for Minnesotans much more affordable. So I'm really excited about this. I'm excited that the speed in which they were done, but more importantly, I'm excited to see the end result of what it'll mean when families are going to go out and go to Target or wherever they're going to go to start thinking about those back-to-school supplies, the back-to-school clothing, so that we can send our little ones off on those exciting first days of school here in the next few weeks. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Revenue Commissioner Marquardt to talk a little bit about the specifics of what's happening. Commissioner?
Thank you very much, Governor. I'm Paul Marquardt, the Commissioner of Revenue, and this is a really good day for Minnesotans. Getting these very much needed, important checks and payments out to folks has been a top priority for Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan for the last 2 years. And this will be significant. It's going to help ease the pain of inflation, help continue to address the burdens created by the COVID-19 pandemic, and as you're going to hear, be able to really meet the everyday needs of folks around the state. And I want to add to the governor's thank yous. Thank you to the Chair Rest, and Chair Gomez for really putting this forth in the legislature. Huge thanks to the Department of Revenue and all the teams there. And also the Minnesota Management and Budget played a key role, as did Minute. So it really took an interagency approach to be able to deal with all the kind of components of what this all involves. So where are we at right now? So payments went out starting last night, and about 200,000 direct deposits were made into bank accounts. There's about 5,100 of those 200,000 that kind of kicked back because banking accounts had been closed. But what will happen there is this will just default to a check that now will go out. And as you have there, about 2.1 million payments will go out to the tune of about $1 billion. And so today, we're hoping to get out to 600,000 to 700,000 of the direct deposits, and hope to finish up the little over 1.1 million that will be direct deposits. We hope to finish those up tomorrow and start issuing the checks, which are about $950,000, out starting on Friday. Now, that process will not be quite as quick as you can imagine for sending out direct payments, but we hope to get that out within a couple weeks. So that will be huge. 24 states, give or take, depending on how you count these, have done these rebates in the last few years. We rank at least 6th for the highest maximum. We're in the top 1/4 of a maximum refund. So this refund that the state of Minnesota, under the leadership of Governor Walz, is very significant. It is a nation-leading tax rebate, and it'll, for a family of 5, that is $1,300. So we're looking at things. It's going well at this point. As the governor mentioned, there's certainly a lot of security measures that go out. We want to make sure that the right payment with the right amount goes to the right person. And the governor wants to get this right. The legislature wants to get this right. And so that process of a couple months, as this has been worked on, is always looking at how can we make this efficient, but also make sure it's getting to the right people with the right amounts. So with that, there's many more important people to hear from than me, and so I'll take questions later if you want. But again, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ebony McMillan. I'm just going to speak on how this will be beneficial for my family. This comes at the best time possible, right before school. My children do attend a private school, so I have to purchase uniforms for at least 7 days for all 3. So this works out. Also, this will help with like toiletries needed or any type of products the kids need to hygiene-wise, keep them going through the year. This will help. It's like a good boost to start the school year out for the kids. And then they can go to school and feel happy and content like everyone else should feel. So that would be all.
That's perfect.
Thank you.
Sylvester?
Good morning. My name is Sylvester Jai, and I'm a current student at North Hennepin Community College, where I study liberal arts, biology, and chemistry. Today, I want to extend my gratitude to the governor and everyone who worked on making the rebate check a possibility. I am a full-time student. Like I said, I study liberal arts and biology and chemistry. So as part of that, I usually spend most of my days on campus. I'm on campus from 9 a.m. in the morning to 9:30 at night. So usually after classes, when I get home, there's not a lot of time to make food and eat. So I just, I got to do that the next day. So I just go to bed, wake up the next morning, redo that again. So I believe this check is going to be really helpful, in helping me stack up on snacks while I'm on campus, so that way that I can keep my energy level up and be more focused in my classes. Moreover, I do think that this rebate check is going to be useful in the purchasing of some science equipment like scientific calculator, which currently as I'm speaking, I do need for the upcoming semester. And I just want to say, nevertheless, there are many stresses that college students face all throughout the semester, and though they all may not be equally the same, I do believe that this rebate check is a good startup, to help students alleviate some of the challenges that they face throughout the semester. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Demetrius White, resident of South Minneapolis, father of 3 boys and a wife. So I just want to thank the governor and everybody responsible for these checks, these rebate checks that will help my family with household products and my children with school uniforms and shoes and things that we really needed. Thank you.
Well, once again, we're excited about this. You heard the statistics on this. Encourage folks to keep an eye on their bank accounts, make sure they're coming. If you're expecting the checks to be mailed over the next few weeks, we'll try and keep updates so folks know where they're at and what happens if, for example, your bank account did close or you did move and you lived here, how you get in contact with revenue to get those right. But I don't think it's any secret. This was something I advocated for. I think a holistic approach that the legislature did, making life more affordable, investing in our schools, investing in our infrastructure, investing in sustainable climate initiatives, all of those things making Minnesota the best place to live. And we've seen a rash of things coming out this summer where Minnesota's moved into those top fives or top spot: quality of living, business environment, health care. All of those things matter, but I also believe putting the money back in the pockets of Minnesotans to make those decisions, especially this time of year. We all know the stress of it. All of our families know it's an expensive time of year to get ready to go back to school, and it's a time that can be more exciting for the kids when that financial stress isn't there. With that, we'd be glad to take some questions.
Governor, do you want to maybe respond to the Republican leaders in the House and Senate coming out and saying this is much less than the $2,000 checks that you had initially promised?
Yeah, well, it's a lot more than the zero that they asked and called them gimmicks and vote buying and all the other things. Look, they're running out of things to complain about. The economy's going along. When anything good happens, it's something bad. We worked together on this. Certainly, I wanted a little bit more, but we compromised together. We worked from their zero up to this $1,300 per these families that we got to. But once again, if that's their point, they're certainly not going to be able to take any credit for this because they could have had more had they agreed back in 2022 for this. This legislature, led by these two chairs, figured out a way to get compromise and broaden the ability of people to benefit from Minnesota's growing economy, which has a large part to do with the folks who are standing up here. So, yeah, did they really put that out after we got all the quotes, remember, from each and every one of them that said these were gimmicks? They're not gimmicks, they're real people.
Governor, the state is still taking in more money than it was anticipating. Is there an appetite for another round of rebates should the number show continued access?
Well, yeah, and I think it's probably too early. If I think my calculations are right, in July it was about $45 million more. I believe corporate and individual income tax is about what we anticipated. I think the $45 million was increased sales tax, which is probably a good indicator of an economy that's thriving. People are still spending. I think it's probably too early to look at that, but I think, again, when we come back next February for supplemental budget, good decision-making, good budgeting done by these folks who stand with me in the legislature puts Minnesota in a strong position. I think we always can come back and revisit.
This might be a question for the commissioner, but I think the number was 2.5 million during session. Now it seems like maybe it's 2.1. Is there a reason the number's a little smaller or fewer people eligible than originally anticipated?
Yeah, thank you. So always when the Department of Revenue is putting out things, it's estimates. And one thing when we actually were looking at putting together what payments were going to go out, we found out that more people than anticipated were making more than the $75,000 and $150,000 levels. And also with dependents can either be claimed or they also can file tax returns. And so you only get one or the other, and that reduced by a few there also.
Commissioner, could you speak to the philosophy or the policy of using adjusted gross as the starting point as opposed to taxable income, which would have included deductions for people who had children as well?
So I think the rationale there was to use consistency with a lot of other programs that we use. I don't think there was anything special about that. That tends to be kind of the default when you look at various tax programs, is using that adjusted gross income.
This might be a question for Mr. White. This is coming at the same time that school lunches and breakfasts are going to become free for everybody starting this fall. Does that help you and your family at all?
Yes, very much it does.
Can you tell us how?
I'm a struggling father of three, and it's always time of it's always a time of need that comes up. Thank you.
So what I would advise is that, so if like the bank account was closed, or they thought, for example, if they had part of their refund paid back to like a software provider, we can't send that to the bank for safety reasons or other concerns. So that would go to a check. So they might think they're getting something right away. So what I would say is the checks after they have been issued, which will be into September, if they have not received a payment, contact the Department of Revenue at that point. So I would think that would be probably mid-September. If they have not received a check, contact the Department of Revenue and we can figure that out.
And just one more on the folks who, if you were alive prior to January, after January 1st, died, so went straight,
Yeah.
does it go to their state? How does that?
Yes. So if, let's say one spouse passes away, specific in the legislation is that spouse will receive the full benefit of both.
Commissioner, I think you've answered this, but for those who weren't able to update their direct deposit information by the July 20th deadline, I assume then that they will get the live check for those folks.
That's right. That will default to a check.
Maybe a question for one of the chairs. Can you guys talk about how you settled on the income threshold, 75,000, 150,000? Was it just like an arbitrary number, or was that more thought behind that?
Yeah, thank you. So, you know, our tax bill did a lot of different things. We really tried to focus the spending in the bill on the families who needed it the most. The average household income in Minnesota is around $77,000. So, you know, sort of a mix of like kind of right-sizing it with all of the other things that we were able to do in our tax bill, like, you know, the child tax credit, which was a priority for all of us, some really important changes to the renter's rebate. And so it's kind of, you know, just right-sizing it with respect to targeting to folks who needed it the most, and the other goals that we had with in the tax bill.
And I would say that Representative Gomez and I were constantly looking at the various combinations of help to families and children, whether it was through the free lunch program. We followed that very, very closely, and adjusting our expectations, not just in the rebate checks, the refund checks, but also in the child tax credit, and just who was going to be affected as soon as possible. And what's so great about the rebates is that it's right now. It's right now. The checks were in their bank accounts just now. And as I was listening to this young man who's a college student, I said, oh my goodness, my granddaughter's gonna get one. I'm gonna call her right away and say, look at your bank account. You filed a tax return in 21, look at your bank account and see how much you got. And so, and she is not affluent, and she is right in the mix of those young people, adults, singles, who can make great use of these checks, and that's who it was intended for. Representative Gomez and I worked very closely together to get this good result, following the leadership of the governor and the practical knowledge and expertise of the Commissioner of Revenue.
Commissioner Marquardt, are there federal tax implications on these payments once you pay federal taxes?
Yeah. Before I answer that, he's standing in the back of the room. Justin Neiman was the project lead on this, and he in this, and he's very unassuming, so he probably is going to get after me for mentioning his name, but he's done wonderful work as everyone. And I mentioned his name because we don't know yet about the federal taxability. Of course, the state, it is not taxable. On May 25th, the day after this bill was signed into law, Mr. Neiman sent a note to IRS counsel asking for an opinion, And subsequently, I've sent also, and as of last week, which was August 9th, in an email, they said the IRS counsel is looking at this, and they will have a decision, hopefully, very soon, as they put in quotes. So we still don't know about the taxability, but the reason we look back to 2021, and what we have said is we designed this program very similar to the other rebate plans that were tax exempt, in relating them to the unforeseen inflation that we saw and the burdens of COVID-19. And that's where we think we're in good stead in having the Fed see this as not taxable.
Commissioner, will the checks have a picture of the governor on them?
No, they will not, but thank you for asking, so,
Governor,
yeah.
go back to the subject of the school meals.
Yeah.
It's just, what would you like to say about what you think this will mean to families?
Oh.
And also, what's your response to the criticism that was made during the debate that this means a lot of money going to families that could easily afford it?
Yeah, isn't that rich? Our Republican colleagues were concerned there would be a tax cut for the wealthiest. You can't make some of this up if you tried. The fact of the matter is that the programs of getting food get to our children as easily as possible has always been a priority. We know there's a lot of families that this is hard. They send you tons of paperwork. You're struggling. You're doing work. You're doing all that. This was meant to make it as easy as possible, knowing that it's a benefit for all of them. I think it's huge. What it means to families is it means my son's eating school lunch. It means that families know that it's about $1,300 in savings for that family with 3 kids. That makes a big difference. But I think the biggest thing that we made the case of is it's far better to make sure we're capturing all the families and all those that would have maybe been eligible in the other programs, but was too complex to get. They just don't have to worry about it now. And the simplicity of the record keeping at the schools is much easier. All of those things, and you've heard us all talk about it. You've heard the Lieutenant Governor talk about this. The haves and have-nots in a school lunchroom is not a necessary thing. They just feed our children. And so I'm really excited about that. I think coupled with these payments, we're feeling this. Going back to school looks a lot easier this year.
Just the laughing at Sean's question aside, is there any kind of letter or is your name anywhere associated with these checks, or are they just coming out in plain fashion?
Well, I certainly didn't tell him to. I was checking that he didn't do it. He's a good friend. So, no, there's nothing on there. I think we saw that at the federal level there's some to do that. This was never the point in that. And I said, you can call them whatever you want. The point is to make sure that we had a holistic and I think a very measured approach. I again want to give great credit to the tax chairs who thought about how we did this. And to be very clear, the targeting of the truly middle-class Minnesotans will see the most benefit out of this tax. It gets missed in this whole thing. This is the largest tax cut in state history. You're seeing this again. This is the biggest set of direct rebate checks that have ever been sent out, but that's because it goes back to Minnesotans. So no, there's no reference to that. I'm just glad they're going out. My goal and my pledge to the legislators and to the people of Minnesota under Commissioner Marquardt's leadership was to get these out in a safe and timely manner as possible. And it was very truly, and I want to send my thanks to the team, pretty ambitious. I said I'd like these to go out before school starts. That's when it makes a bigger difference, and that was the goal.
Let's do 2 more on or off.
Sure.
Off topic. Some of the cannabis industry advocates think that there is a provision in the Minnesota Constitution that would allow them to sell their homegrown marijuana plants without a license, which are obviously not yet operational. Has your office had discussions about that? Do you see it as a potential avenue for people to sell?
No, I mean, that was not our intention, but I've not had that conversation with them. Look, I think on the cannabis piece of this, just like every other piece of legislation, certainly around things like alcohol, these are ever evolving, and I've said that I think there's a strong need. We'll come back, we'll revisit these things year after year, probably for decades to come, but that was never our intention to do that, and I've not had substantive conversation with our legal counsel or anyone in commerce around this.
Governor, have you seen a letter that apparently has been sent to you by the Chiefs of Police Association, speaking of back to school, about a new state law that prohibits them from using certain types of restraints on students if school resource officers are trying to break up a fight or something?
Yeah,
They say it may result in some departments pulling out of schools because they wouldn't be able to diffuse situations.
We have. First of all, the way that the law was written on this is prohibiting things like chokeholds, neck holds on students, student resource officers, somebody that I've been very supportive of. I worked in schools my entire career that had police resource officers in the school. The law is written to provide, there's exceptions to student health, risk to them, risk to the police. So it is not being interpreted correctly, and that they certainly have the authority to do that. I certainly think we should all agree that we should not kneel on the necks of students unless someone's life is at risk, and that is written into the law to be able to do that.
So they were seeking clarification from you. Is that how you will respond?
That's, at this point, I would just say we will send back that letter. I think this just arrived yesterday, and I just spoke with my team about it earlier this morning. Yeah, we'll clarify that the law, and I asked for my team to read me the law and the interpretation with the attorneys down there, and there's exceptions for health and safety of students and the officers, just like there is in everything.
Governor, is there a status update with the commissioner or head of the new office of candidacy?
Not at this time. We're still going forward. We're going through the applications that'll be there, and we'll try and get someone in as quickly as possible.
Do you have a timetable on the Chief Justice?
Soon, not IRS soon, but really. Yeah, I'm looking through the application to there. We're doing the vetting that needs to be necessary to do this, and I think this is an important position that needs to be filled. Chief Justice Gilday was incredibly gracious, giving us a good time glide path to get to that point, but there's going to be an uptake time for that person coming in. So I think you should expect to have an answer here very shortly, weeks, not months. So.
All right, let's start with there.
Thank you all. Thanks, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Evan, thank you. Demetrius, thank you. Yeah. I know, this time of year should feel better now. It does. Thank you. Thank you. Look at that. Oh,
We have some challenge coins for our friends.
oh yeah. Here. I have something for you guys.